You are a spiritual being in physical form, a dichotomy of light and dark, where energy equals mass on a journey designed to fulfill our personal legend and purpose, to use humanity throughout, to amplify and transcend, slay the ego, raise the humanity. That's a signpost up ahead. Your next stop, the High Vibe Zone. Hey. Is this the first time hearing that intro?
No.
Okay.
No, I think I actually saw it the day you debuted it.
Oh, okay.
Nice. Like, because it stood out for me because, I'm all about the Star Wars and Yoda.
Yes. Okay. I was like, I hope people get this reference.
I mean, I got it. I understood. And there's a little Twilight Zone in there a little
bit. I love the Twilight Zone. That's one of my go-tos. If I'm just like trying to chill, it's either Star Trek or Twilight Zone. And I can only watch like one episode of Twilight Zone because it's kind of creepy sometimes.
I never actually watched the episode of a Twilight Zone. I guess I wasn't ready back then.
Oh, yeah. It's super sci-fi. Super sci-fi. Well, okay. Y'all, I know we're a little behind schedule. This is definitely my, aligned timing with the universe, but we are here. I am so excited to talk to y'all today. My amazing guest, Felicia. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. I am shifting. I think that's a better way to put that. But still good.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to start with an encouraging card of the day and see how it launches us into our conversation. So essentially what this is,
Look, don't make me have to
what do you have over there? Can we just change the whole thing and just do cards?
Look, because it was like the one I was ready because we're talking about High on the Hog and I had the voodoo deck. And this one always, I thought of the show with this one. Because the hog was in the background.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, so I'm with you. Let's pull this card.
I love it. Okay, encouraging card of the day. What does it have to say? Random. Nope. That actually not right. What was that? It was a great one. It's just it's the wrong one. I meant to pull the wrong one. Okay. Here it is. Follow your yes.
Follow your yes.
What? I feel like I've had that one on here before. I feel like I get the same ones. Maybe I should start pulling them out after I get them. But follow your yes is what comes up. What does that reflect or mean to you? Like off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head was the whole spirituality about coming out of the closet and talking about these cards. Like, because we don't, the whole fear of being a witch and hiding and all of this is like, no, that's the path that I'm on. I'm doing it for light and follow that yes. So that's what immediately came to my mind.
I love that. And after I asked for you to introduce yourself, I do hope you talk a little bit more about that because I think that you are the second person that I know that has like suppressed or hidden themselves because of a belief or bias that has been universally carried, especially around family, or that's been very centered around family. So I, when you introduce yourself, please go a little bit more into that. I think following your yes means accepting the things that are on your personal path and personal legend. And funny enough, sometimes when people ask if they could do something for me, I'm like, no, I got it. Or no. Like if I'm walking around, I'm like, no, I got it. And I stopped doing that. Like if someone's like, oh, I can help you with your groceries. Or my kids are like, Mom, I can help you with this. And me saying, no, I got it. I'll say yes, because I feel like saying yes to one thing is also allowing and saying yes to other things of the universe is trying to gift me something. God is trying to gift me something. And so the more I say no, guess what happens? So I'm getting them gifts. So I also when my kids like give me stuff, I always say, yes, I'll take it. Because one, it's the only thing that they have to give. And two, it's just like receiving and being in practice of receiving. So follow your yes is really reminds me of just the practice of receiving.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
But because I tag on that so that like if something good happens, now I even say yes, more of that, please. Like I'm talking
exactly.
to like yes, more of that, please. Yes, more of that. But I am with you because I remember the last time specifically where I would have said like a no in the past is that I was shopping at Trader Joe's. Now I had a buggy and everything, and there was like a whole nother buggy, and the guy, and before I would be like, let me get it all together. And I got this.
Yeah.
And he's like, I didn't want to inconvenience him or anything like that. He's like, do you need some help me taking this out to your car? And I was like, yes, please.
There you go.
He offered. I was like, why do I don't have to struggle? And what am I proving by having all these bags? And then be like, why should you just get some help? Like, yes.
Which reminds me of that song Erykah Badu, Bag Lady.
Girl. Yes. You gonna trick all them bags like that.
And I don't know. I think we should, because okay. So we definitely need to just start planning our second live because it's gonna happen.
Okay.
You mentioned you watched In My Grandmother's Gardens.
I did. Mm-hmm.
And then if you look at Bag Lady, for y'all that don't know what we're talking about, Erykah Badu, Bag Lady. Yeah, maybe we'll put up a clip or something later. But in that video, she shows babies with bags. And it talks about how we're gifted this like
generational curses. We bore our ancestral. It keeps continuing. Girl, I did a whole meditation. I think that was my very first one when I did the Girl Get Your Mind Right. I think it was Bag Lady. And it was just like taking your stuff out to the curb and just leaving that and just doing this whole meditation stuff. Yes, and that was a song, Bag Lady.
Yeah. Oh my God.
We gotta be struggling. We gotta keep all our stuff. Right? No, I got this. Thank you. Just like, girl, if you don't wrap them bags at the curb and keep it,
especially them garbage bags. What you doing with garbage bags?
Stinky and all that. And I'm like, now I get it. There are certain things you got to recycle.
Yes.
Some other stuff you just got to throw it away.
Oh man, I'm here for all that. Okay, and I think that's a beautiful segue into our conversation about freedom. But before, can you just introduce yourself, please, to this is your first time in the High Vibe Zone.
Yes.
Please introduce yourself to our amazing, amazing viewers, whether it's live or recorded. Please introduce yourself.
Aloha, everyone. I'm Felicia MillerJohnson. I am an intuitive life coach, and I definitely believe that imposter syndrome will limit your life and success if you let it. So if you're seeing me, I'm an African-American female. So I grew up with this whole imposter syndrome that you got to be twice as good. I got to struggle. I got to be perfect. I got to be superwoman. I got to do it all. Tag onto that. I also grew up in the Christianity. And if you guys are familiar with the whole Proverbs 31 woman, I got to be beautiful. I have to have my own business. My kids got to think I'm blessed. My husband got to think I'm blessed. I got to put all that together. And if I don't, I'm not a good Christian wife, mother, all of that, right? And so then finally I had my whole come to Jesus moment. And literally I can understand how this way say, Jesus, take the wheel, because I was driving and I threw up my hands. I was like, okay, because I think I just had like this big argument with my husband at the time. And I was like, okay. So that led me to my whole spiritual journey to where I heard the message, live smart. The phrase, work harder. Work smarter, not harder. Well, I heard live smart. And so that's what I've been on this journey of living smart, of like how I can combine my spirituality with my practical earthly life in this earthly body and putting it all together while still ascending to new levels of success. And so that's a little bit about me, but I'm sure we'll learn more.
I love that. I love that.
you just like summed up in a very elegant way some depth of journey.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're saying this so fluidly, but I'm like, oh, there's
it's layers. There's layers in there. You just got to pick where you want to start at.
You make it sound so easy. I'm like, nah.
Now I'm about that efficiency. Like I said, once you have done your work,
yeah,
it's like, okay, I know what that is, and help them to explain that, and then whoever you're talking to, whatever resonates with them,
yeah,
you flow from there, from whatever questions they have from that.
Yeah, and you don't need to carry or go dig in the bags and pull things out and this and that. It's like it becomes simple. I love the efficiency. I'm all for that. It's amazing. Well, again, thank you so much for being here with me. And we are closing out High on the Hog conversation. And at first I was like, I don't know if anybody's going to really resonate with this. I don't really care because this is an amazing docuseries that needs to be highlighted in any way. And so this is my part of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
You watched, I think it was the one with Tony you watched. Was it with the
I watched all of them.
Okay, all right. I can't remember which one you commented on, and I was like, oh, okay, we need to do this one together. And
because the Juneteenth one resonated personally because I got married on Juneteenth in Texas.
That is a significant day. Was that deliberate?
Yes.
Okay.
But I didn't have a clue about it at the time. So my husband is from Texas, so from Texarkana. And so we met when he was in the military. So we were in Georgia. And the way, because when I was raised, I didn't have a like church home, because you're supposed to get married in your church home. And so he had a church home that he grew up in. So I was like, okay, cool, we'll have the wedding, in Texas. And then, also sidebar, boss move. It was like, if anybody was still lingering around, like, we're coming to your territory, so you can witness.
Yeah.
Get your last goodbyes.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah.
But he was very familiar with Juneteenth. And because I grew up like military movement, I had never heard of that. And I was like, what's Juneteenth? And, he had to break it down for me. And he was like, oh, we grew up with all these, barbecues and cookouts and the whole freedom thing. And so we decided to get married on Juneteenth, and we jumped the broom. If you're watching this, you can go to my Instagram page, and I just posted because we just had our 21st anniversary from that. So that's posted of him carrying me over the broom. So it's always been a special thing. We say, it was a holiday for us.
Yeah.
They made it a federal holiday.
Yeah.
Like, y'all late.
Yeah. Oh, that's an understatement. I mean, I grew up. It was called Jubilee Day where I was growing up. Mm-hmm. And my mom grew up with it being Jubilee Day, and they did. They went to school, they got home, and they did like strawberry soda and played in the sprinklers, and there was celebration around it. I didn't grow up knowing the extent of the history of the freedom. Mm-hmm. I think, and again, this is why High on the Hog did such a beautiful job with every single, from roots to rice to chefs to now what we're talking about in freedom. It like painted the pieces of history that I got. I remember looking at my mom while I was watching High on the Hog. I'm like, why didn't you tell me this? She's like, I didn't know to tell you. What is happening here? Because I don't know how you grew up with history, but it was, y'all were slaves, civil rights, or like emancipation, civil rights, Martin. It was like, there was none of this. We were millionaires. We were like the first caterers. We created a rice.
Macaroni and cheese. Like
mac and cheese, rice came from, I was talking to a neighbor the other day, and I was like, when you think of rice, what do you think of? And she said, Asia. I said, it came from Africa.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm in my 30s learning these things, but at least I'm learning them. And I just find it so fascinating as we talk about freedom. Oh, we got to get into this. We're going to go a little bit deeper into this freedom thing, because I feel like that word in different contexts carries a lot of different energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but let me go back just a second.
Yes.
Why was this episode? I mean, you explained how you got married on Juneteenth. Mm-hmm. And this was before it was popular in the holidays, and you had no context of it until your husband shared it. Why was this episode specifically like super important to you, or what stood out for you most from this episode?
Okay. Yep. So right in the very beginning, with the baker. So, cheesecakes. I like cheesecakes, so she caught the attention. But one of the things that I didn't know about that I also enjoy is red velvet cake. And so when they broke down about how it was originally like made, how she made hers with beets, and how it was symbolic of the blood, you know, that was shed from the slavery, and I was just like, oh. And that's why I said, like, in my life, what I've known that there are certain signs. There are things that I have resonated with, but didn't necessarily know, like, why.
Right.
So, like the red velvet cake, and I was like, okay, I get that. So the whole beets and the earthiness of it, and just what it represents, the whole blood, and it was just like, oh, didn't know, but it then made sense because like my ancestors that are like, you know, all those people that we were talking about before us, was just like, oh, got it. Like they liked it, so like they want some more of that. Like that's what it means. And so that made it, you know, stand out for me. So that, and then a new connection was even to what she said about how she really enjoys baking, and it just freed her as a Black woman.
Yeah.
And the irony of that was, for me, was like, I was sort of the opposite. In the sense of, I didn't enjoy like cooking. Like I break it down, like I cook for my family once a week. Like I bulk cook, because it was just like I got frustrated. You remember the whole, wow, what's for dinner? And I used to work late and come in and everybody's looking at me and this and this. And so I was like, you know what? Bulk cooking. I'm gonna have some meat, so many vegetarians, so many vegetables. I'm put it all in the refrigerator. Y'all just go eat when you want to.
Yeah.
But it was an appreciation of how she looked at that as, or just even the whole series of how cooking was part of the soul, like how they came together and how it was symbolic for them. And so that kind of gave me a new appreciation to some degree of, oh, like this was really a big deal, you know, back then. You know, you might not have had nothing to eat. So what they had, they made it beautiful, taste good, and work, you know, for that. So it was a connection, an eye opener for that. Now, mind you, once I, you know, continue to get to my millionaire status, I'm still gonna have me a chef. I'm gonna call a boy, maybe come over, or somebody, or one of those people on the show. But it was like,
Steven.
Like, okay, that's great. But I realized, you know, it's not my thing to be like, oh, I just love it, and but it's like I understand now the meaning, the feeling that's like behind it, and just giving a new appreciation. And actually, what was it, Monday? I did a live with like Annie, and she had said something, because we were kind of doing, you know, hashtag coaches have coaches. And she said something that was eye-opening for me, was that like when I pray over the food, like I can even pray and thank myself for having cooked the food.
Yeah.
Because before I thought there's no appreciation. You know, like, you know, you got like 5 kids, everybody's just eating and You don't know how long. Don't let there be something left in the refrigerator that nobody touched. Like, why y'all didn't eat this food? Like, I'm feeling some type of way about it. You know, so I was like, you know what? I can thank myself. Thank, you know, for the hand. You know, y'all know when you go to those events and they're like, you know, thank the hands that have prepared this food. And I'm like, you know what? You should thank yourself. You don't have to wait for somebody else. So that part is what resonated throughout the show. It's like I appreciate other people cooking.
Yeah.
It's just Yeah.
That's amazing. I also felt when she was talking about like this is my space.
Right.
Like no one tells me how to measure, how to this and that. Like I get to be in my full expression of myself when I am baking. And it is deeply resonant to what other people are seeing. And she's living in her light and nobody is coming in telling her, are you sure you should put beets in your red velvet cake?
Right.
Nobody is. And that, and that's something that we experience. And, being a Black woman, sometimes it's things that we experience. Are you sure you should?
You sure that's right?
I'm following my yes. So let's just keep it there.
Yeah, and the part about that, even like the whole recipes, like I remember when I had to learn how to cook these certain things for my husband from his mama and his mama, and it was like really figuring out, well, exactly how much is that, because some of that stuff it's just a feeling for them.
It is
like I'm like, is it two tablespoons?
Yeah.
I need the recipe. Like
that's how I
fear of failure. I'm like, I'm not. I need for this to come out right. But like you said, I mean, that's not what it was. It was just like they worked with what they had and they just made it feel good and go from there. So yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Larry.
Aloha, Larry.
Yeah. Hey, Cowboy Stew.
Yes. Or what was it? Shotgun? No, I actually had wrote that down too. They called it something else. Son of a gun.
Son of a gun. Yes.
Son of a gun.
So Larry, I know you might, we'll be very quick with it. Cowboy Stew is a bunch of organs, sweetbread, which is brains, kidneys, liver, all the organs, everything from the cow, and thrown in with some vegetables, some rice, water, all that, and it's what cowboys ate after they were done doing their thing. And mind you, the first cowboys were Black, which, did you know that, Felicia?
Not at the time, but I knew a little bit. Just y'all, you gotta understand. I live with my husband. He be breaking
okay, yeah, well,
so it's like I knew, but it's like okay, we see it on confirmation.
Yes,
on the Cowboy, because that was actually connected to he had broke down a long time ago, because the Lone Ranger was really Black.
I did know that. I looked into that. Yes, I'm aware.
And so he's from Arkansas, so that's so that's like how I'm here tied into all of that. So yes, to some degree, I knew that.
I thought that was fascinating because growing up, I mean, I love Westerns. Absolutely love Westerns. It's my I like the less high production it is, the more I want to watch it. So I've always wondered where that tie maybe came from. Maybe somewhere. In my history, there was somebody that was a cowboy. But going back to the food component.
Yeah, but even the cowboy. Remember when they were talking about how that even came to be when they broke that down?
Yeah.
It was the house, because they used to call them boys. So it was the house boy, like the stable boy, or the field boy.
Yeah.
There was a gentleman that worked with the cows, and that's how it was cowboy.
Cowboy, yeah. Would have never thought. It paints such a different context of, when you hear cowboy, there's actually, so where I'm at, the Bay Area, where I grew up in Fremont, there's this small piece of land, and they've done all types of development around it and everything like that. But this land, I remember as a young kid, I just always remember seeing the horses. Come to find out that they're Black cowboys. And they do this, and they do rodeos. And I was, again, growing up was not something I knew about. I'm like, we don't go to rodeos. That's not what we do. And what I really loved about something in the previous episode of Founding Chefs, there's nothing that we don't do.
Nothing.
And I think being able to have, again, something like High on the Hog to express and expose some of those things that was not shared in history, and things that you actually have to go look for and find out. It's not something that's offered in just offered up, casually. It's not what's seen. It's also not.
You didn't study it in school.
No. No, I think what my history, the main thing I remember in history class, Mr. Dexter would always play Roots every February, and I would
shout out to Mr. Dexter if you're still out there.
Dexter, why you do that? But it was only like it was awkward for me only because it was like only 2 Black people, or sometimes I'd be the only Black person in there, and I'm just like, here we go, Mr. Dexter. But then I didn't realize that that was his only time. Mr. Dexter, I didn't know this. What do we know at 16, 17? His only time to infuse a balance of what actual history looked like from all perspectives. So, and then one thing I also love is, this isn't an earlier episode, but it falls into the food component. We are the only culture that named our food after something invisible. Soul food. And something that's connected to God in a way. And, when I cook, I don't use recipes when I cook. I do the pinch, I do a splash, I kind of like go from there. I cook by smell. And, you really do put your heart into something because you are nourishing the human soul in so many ways. And knowing that food is such a universal thing, as in, if we don't feel safe, we do not eat. And I think that's also something that to think about in the context of how our ancestors prepared food and how they did it in a circle of safety within themselves, even though they were going through all of those different things. Just is really empowering to know, like, okay, there's going to be some stuff that goes down, but there's some creation that's still happening in that construct. So, I mean, again, powerful.
Yeah, girl, I'm the same with you. That's why there's been challenges when I cook something. Let's just say spaghetti. So when I get that compliment, they're like, "It's really good this time." And I'm like, "Oh, I can't tell you." Like, because it changes. You got the noodles, but it might be a marinara sauce one time, a barbecue sauce. Did I put cheese? Did I not put cheese? I'm like, enjoy it, because
exactly, enjoy it, because I don't know.
So shout out to those people. They can do the soul food, like the restaurants and stuff like that, and it could taste pretty consistent.
Yeah,
because there's no guarantees you're gonna get the same flavor.
Yeah, the same experience that you.
It don't taste the same, Mama. It's different.
Oh yes, well, yeah. Drink some water, you'll be fine.
Right. Yeah.
Let's talk about freedom.
Yeah,
I think that obviously this the history of Juneteenth, which is something that I feel as over the last year or so has been really highlighted, and obviously with it being now a federal holiday, being more celebrated and recognized. But when you think about freedom, what initially comes up for you in that context? Like the word, what resonates with you there?
The first part is free. In the sense you can be free in whatever it is for you. So that can be freedom in you're free in your marriage, free in your thought process, free in your parenthood, whatever the case may be. But then it's also the dumb part.
What
parameters or boundaries are you putting on yourself? It's like, are you really free? Because you could just stop at free. It's like, well, we get caught up in that dumb stuff sometimes too. So, so it's kind of like both.
I will not look at freedom again the same. The word freedom. I have never thought of it like that.
Mm-hmm.
That is so, I'm like taking in what you just said, the free part. We could have just stopped there, free.
Mm-hmm.
But the dumb part, how we can get wrapped up. And it reminds me of a quote by Bob Marley, none but ourselves can free our minds.
Yes.
And I think as humans, we don't do a very good job with freeing those elements of ourselves. I was talking to Tony and I was like, yes, slavery ended for a certain component of our humanity. Still goes on in some areas of the world, but we have here in America a lot of modern day slavery. And I mean,
Carol, yes.
and we're just, we're kind of, just kind of, but that dumb part makes me like really think about, okay, what are we subjecting ourselves to where we don't truly have freedom? Are we truly free if we're not critically thinking for ourselves, or if we're trying to conform to what somebody else says is our identity? And are we truly free if we are continuously perpetuating a victimized mindset? Are we truly free? Like, there's so many avenues of this.
Girl, yeah, that's even, just thinking about, I had the book over there on my shoulder, the slave Bible, the Negro Bible, and how, yes, they gave the Bible and used it as a tool to convert the Africans from going from their traditions and the way that they praise their God, to this. But then it was like they gave a consolidated Bible. Didn't have all of the Bible. All the stuff that would set your mind free, they left out of that. It was only the scriptures that basically kind of talked about, having to obey your masters and, you'll get your rewards in heaven, kind of thing, and just, serve. So it's like the whole thing of that, like, yeah, you want them to be free, but you're not really free,
right.
So that's all the things that's kind of been going on, with that. And just this, like you said, the stuff in that show and just how it relates to the food is that that's how, they connected with each other, is what they had. I mean, that was something things that they took from stuff from their country, brought it here with the stuff that we have here, and made it this whole, thing. So it's yeah. So that's what free dumb means to me. It's like you can be free, but what dumb stuff are you tied to that's not keeping you free?
When did you realize that word? Like, was it as in awe as I am hearing it now? Were you like, whoa?
Okay, so when we talk about the spiritual abilities, but see, that's how it shows up for me.
Yeah.
Is that I analyze like certain words, like I hear things to where it's like, okay, free, but then dumb stands out. Like we use that word like dumb.
Yeah.
And it's just, I just have these signs. I couldn't tell you exactly when that, came, but it's just like, like, okay, just like I was talking about earlier, like with Star Wars and the whole trine. It's like, if you actually look up a lot of the words, it's like, what does that really mean? What are we really saying?
Right. What are we really saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even think about that piece if you put it on kingdom. King, then the dumb part, but that's really talking about the boundaries, their kingdom, right? This is my territory. So there's still some like limit on that. So it's just how my brain.
It's how your soul works.
Yeah, it's just how it works.
I love that because it definitely gives me, I haven't thought too deeply around the word freedom other than what I've like shared and in terms of I don't think it looks the same for everybody, you know, and it's definitely your own. You are free within. Like when Nelson Mandela was in prison, like that, he experienced freedom.
Right.
He was free. He was, even though there was like
His
this
mind.
captive. Yeah, exactly. And that's the part, you know, they say we use 10% of our brains. And I think it's because we limit to maybe 2 or 3 possibilities. Like, oh, I don't have for not you, not me. I don't have a job. 2 possibilities. I need to go do this and go do that. There is never that pause of, oh, but what if I'm meant to start something else? What if I'm meant to, you know, and then you start to expand these possibilities because there's millions of them. There's millions of them.
Everything that you see, touch, started with a thought. Somebody had to think it. I want this mouse. Somebody had to think, like, what is this going to be?
Yeah.
Somebody made a shirt. It started with a thought.
Yeah.
Right. And the next thing probably is communicated with a word. So then they took their thoughts and then put it into words in order to get the idea to come out and to show in this, you know, reality. Heck, the world started with a word. Let there be light.
It is.
So our words and thoughts are very powerful, but many times you run into people are afraid of that power.
Why?
Judgment from some people of what that's going to look like. Fear of, now that I have this power, what am I going to do with it? Can I control it? Can I use it for the highest good for society?
I wonder if there's fear of using power because of how it was presented, how other people use power. And we want to be far removed from, this person had power and they did these horrible things with it. So
exactly. That's how most of on media today, most of it's going to be presented, power is going to be presented in the format of, somebody took it and did evil things with it, right? Controlling other people, and it just made you look like you were just, it's a bad thing. Same with like money. You know, oh, if you have money is the root of all evil and all these different things, where yet it's just a resource that allows you to do other things. Money, you know, to some degree, they're talking about, oh, if I have money, then I'll have freedom.
Nah, that's not how it actually works.
You know? So it's like, do you really? You know, so yeah.
There's a lot of people that have money that do not have freedom, nor do they have peace, nor do they have joy.
No. Millions, you know, as far as it, you know, I mean, look at the, what was it? Because my husband and I were talking about, was it Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates? Like, you got millions.
Billions.
Right? But they got divorced. So it's like money don't guarantee, you know, all those different things. And like I said, I'm sure with relationships, as I talk about that, there's many different things that come into that play.
Right.
But it's not guaranteed that having that money is going to make you have, you know, happiness in that sense. Because it was like, there's a whole study even done on that. It's like after, I think like after 62,000, it really, the people's happiness really doesn't really fluctuate that much. After they get to like $62,000 a year. I mean, so
that free part is really important. That free part. And also those little lines, the best things in life are free. Like I feel like life gives us all of these little hints and cues. And sometimes when we have someone that can translate those into visual film and films, you know, the movie Soul, Lucas, Moana, like you just have these, and you're like,
we've been watching Manifest, like that's what lately we've been watching that.
Have you?
Yes. like I said, a whole other show. Yes, soul.
So yeah,
you talk about that. Like I said, when I heard the guy, he was like, he was a mystic. I was like, did he just actually use the word mystic in this Disney?
Yeah, it's there's this I'm gonna say this, and this is probably not, I don't know. This is just how I'm feeling. I grew up in the church as well. I don't know if organized religion is actually helping us as humans be better humans. I feel it could be very divisive, because if spirituality is not in the center, I remember talking to my parents about this, and I was like, you guys never told me or taught me. You taught me about religion, like go to church, do this, do that. But you never taught me that my own personal relationship with God, with my spiritual relationship, was the one thing that I needed to be concerned about. It almost seemed like it was a performative thing. And they were kind of surprised at that. But I never grew up thinking that until I realized that it's my personal relationship. So then why are all of these other confines happening within this? Is it's an intimate relationship with my spiritual journey. And depending on where you pick or pry into that, you probably like, I don't want to know this person, or I really want to know this person. Because again, it's this thing that not very many people can articulate, but it was something that I felt when I was growing up, at least, that it was this very practical thing that needed to be done, but then it left out the connection component. And then you have the politics with it. You can't do that. You can't do this. You can't. And it's like, what? My question is why?
So here's the story that freed me from that, especially when you talk about the intimate relationship and the doing part and all of that. So, like I said, my background is coming from Christianity. So you remember the story when he was crucified and he is on the cross in between the two thieves?
Yes.
So he didn't know them from before, as far as in like as a human man, didn't know before. And the one thief is on there mocking him like, hey, if you're the king of the Jews and Jesus and all that, get yourself down and get us down, with us, save us all. And the other thief is just like, hey, no, like we did these crimes. He didn't do anything. Hey, Lord, remember me, when you get to heaven. And what did Jesus say to him? You will be sitting next to me in heaven on the right side with the Father. Now, did he get down off that cross and all of a sudden go do all these serving the homeless or had to be at the church? He did nothing. Nothing. He led a whole life of like crime, which he got crucified for. And all he simply said was he had a belief, hey, remember me. And now he's going to be kicking it in heaven? I was like, oh. So it wasn't about what you do, all the acts, the routine. That's that religion part. Yeah. But rather, right there on the cross, they had a personal connection, relationship right there. And that was enough for him to get into heaven.
Right.
And that was my aha. Like when you said, when you break things, I was like, he ain't did a thing other than speak it. Hey, remember me. Yeah. And now he's kicking it with Jesus in heaven. So that's one of the things that have freed me from feeling like you have to do all of this. You got to do it this way. You got to do this, which comes up into the religion, which is what divides so many of us. You got to do it this way. You got to do it that way. And it's like at the end of the day, which literally for them was at the end of the day. It's about that relationship, the connection, him seeing your heart, what you're feeling is what's going to get you to live with him forever.
Yeah. There's really, I wonder as we think about freedom, and also as we look at like the energy that creates something, continues that on unless something breaks that momentum. And with that 7 generations growing up in the church, it was fear-based. It was, it was not, and there were some that were different. And, you know, I could remember my grandma and just hearing some of the conversation, which is why in my grandmother's gardens is such a good, you know, and always being able to assess your own ability of freedom.
Yes.
Always being able to assess that your own, if you are, regardless of your title, regardless of your position, what you have around you, are feeling trapped and suffocated, you're not free.
Yeah.
No matter what it says on the land of the, no, we're not free. It comes from a deeper component, which again, I really loved how you could see all of the transitioning moments in that episode of what that looked like, from her baking to we're going to create our own rodeo. And this is how, you know, how it's done, to the free flowing of Cowboy Stew, which is just
Larry, you gotta get you some. Just go make you some.
Yes, go. Look, I can tell you where to buy all the stuff, and you go, you know, get yourself some Cowboy Stew, and like, to just being able to sit with the concept of Juneteenth and how, and I was explaining this, that there are some Black people today that do not celebrate 4th of July. And, you know, when you think about 4th of July, 1776 was a very interesting year, to be honest, in history. Like, let's not, I mean, we don't have enough time to go into that. But it was a very interesting year in itself. And then to think about how this never really was brought into our higher consciousness. And I'm telling you, at least I hadn't seen it. So a couple years ago, more recently now, that, you know, Juneteenth was essentially when everybody was free or considered free on American soil. And I just find that to be such a fascinating thing. Is there's a thing by, and I'm gonna see if I'm gonna try and get this right. I'm gonna get this right.
That's right. No try. Release the try.
I'm gonna get this right. Galileo.
School of Yoda.
Galileo presented the theory that the sun revolves around the earth, and he defended that theory almost up into his death. And then he found out something different. And he said, Epete se mueve, and yet it moves. The earth actually revolves around the sun. And I think about how we are always in this epete se mueve state. We are always in, yet it moves, because the complexity of life, humans are the variable always. You can present a linear solution all the time. But that complexity, how humans are going to respond, those awe moments that pop up, those things that seem to be coincidental, but they are never coincidences, just are all playing in this beautiful ecosystem. And when you seek freedom, true freedom, when you seek to be free from that linear process of what things were, it starts to yield a whole nother contrast of life, and it's so much brighter. And you're like, wow, yes, there was a lot of pain. And you know, my mom, as she was watching the first episode of High on the Hog, was just in tears. There's a lot of pain. One thing Steven said is, I choose to focus on what we did do, because that is what transcends any type of pain, is what was done with it. Did it stay? Are you still within it? Then okay, if you're still within it, that requires healing.
Right.
And and healing, I always look at it like a butterfly, like a caterpillar going into the cocoon. It's this process that you must die to yourself to rebirth, this healing. And so I just find that, and then hearing you say freedom, I'm never going to look at it the same again. And I think that I'm just so grateful that this episode, these seasons exist. Like, y'all need to watch them. Everybody watch them.
Yes, they are enlightening for sure. The whole just variety of what happened, you know, with food. I know one that definitely changes the whole difference between yam and sweet potato. I had some the other day and it said, yeah. I was like, no, this is potato. I was like, okay, they like, huh. So yeah, but that's what they described it as. That's what we, was taught all those years.
Right.
But that's where it becomes to that awakening. Like how you were just talking about the guy. He, like I said, he went his whole life saying all that. And then it's like, you know what? I had an awakening. Like that's not the case. But he admitted that the many times that many people are reluctant to admit that once they know something new. And that's why it goes back to once you know, there's no unknowing it. It's
like unsee the things.
It's like you didn't see it, so now you got to deal with it. And well, hopefully you'll process it and deal with it and go from there. But unfortunately, a lot of times we do not. And then that's what was even connected to when you were talking about earlier when we started the show about the whole baggage and how babies can come into with the baggage, because what happened is in our blood, it's in our soul, it's in our person. And if you do not process that, that's when you get those whole generational curses to the next person, to the next person. So it's like, deal with your stuff, work your shadows, like, let the light
do it. Talk about everybody, we are spiritual beings in physical form.
Yes, spiritual beings having a physical presence. That's all.
There it is.
And we didn't get our power all of a sudden because we came to Earth.
And which we requested this mission. So that's a whole
They're not even ready for that. They're not ready. No. Whole soul contracts. And we like, okay, I want to go learn that life lesson.
Wait a minute. Now I got it. Now I'm like halfway through and now I'm just realizing that. I will say I love what you said about, don't like, and essentially how I received it is don't be ashamed of what you don't know. Don't let that guilt you down. You're not meant to. There's a lot of things I don't know. And then I find out, I'm like, oh, got it. Yeah. Share that out. Be like, I used to think, now I, and that is how we start to show. There's a lot of stuff about the Black culture I did not know. There was a lot of things I did not know.
Okay, can we talk about that in the sense of just because you're Black, sometimes in these circles, they're expecting you to know?
Well, wait. Can I go another layer deeper?
Of course you can.
There's a difference between African heritage and Jamaican heritage. So just because you have someone that's Black in the workplace, they don't know about if they're from the islands, they don't celebrate Juneteenth. So I'm just saying, like, there's some.
But see, you can go all the way to the whole thing. Like, you got Africans, because what's my husband can break it down to? What is the African desperado or something like that? The whole discussion about those that are from Africa versus Black people in America, and that you played out. That played out a little bit. See, we got all these shows and movies in Black Panther.
Oh, yep, exactly. It did. That was
like, why you didn't come get us?
And you know why? Because it was a lie that was being hidden from the previous ancestors, and he had to go deep to discover the truth. So this ain't no coincidence, y'all. Like, these things are out for us to seek out. And my husband has this line that he says, it's not, and I'm going to butcher it because I don't know. But essentially it's like, I'm not going to butcher it. I'm going to do it justice in this moment. But essentially what he's saying is, you don't go out to tell people. You wait for them to be come to you to be taught.
The student will appear. The teacher will appear when the student is ready.
Why can't we just need to have a show, you and I, about everything.
Hey,
and I think because while we dab in same spaces, I feel like there's some complementary exploration in terms of where you are spiritually and seeking, and then where I am. And I feel like that combination is really beneficial to these conversations that aren't usually, had or even thought about. And, at least in the culture I grew up in, you were looked at like, oh, wait, you doing that stuff that, and it's like, wait a minute, but what if it's my personal spiritual, but it's my, so
look, let's do it. But yeah, but that's like where I got the freedom, but because there are things that have popped up into my life that now I know there's this whole reason for that. I remember long time, it's been over 20-something years. Like I was drawn going back to the food, like, oh, that's what I've got to bring in here. My little mammy jar collections thing, and how they were talking about like with the food, so bring it back to the food and the cooking, and how they put African American, faces on boxes, and mama and syrup to sell that whole quality aspect of that. But all that to say, I collected all of these, mammy type figures and all that. But I never really knew why I was doing that, because my parents weren't talking about that. It was just, I was just drawn to it.
Yeah.
And now I've discovered like those were my ancestors in the way talking, like we're here, like she's gonna come around at, some point.
Yeah.
But then even like being here in the South, there was a time when I was talking about that whole Jesus moment when I came to it. I thought I was gonna be on the East Coast. I was going to have my job in New York, live in Jersey, which is where I graduated high school from. Like, that's what I was going to do. So when I was in the South, and, and I was like, married and, frustrated kids and all these different things, I'm like, what am I doing? You're going to have to show me.
Yeah.
So that's when they started really like, okay, the student was ready.
Yeah.
The teachers then really came forth and showed me those things. But one of those was what I learned about recently was like hoodoo. Now, I knew about voodoo. I heard about that and was fearful because the way they presented it before was like, tapped over into the whole more evil spirits and all that. And I was just like, no. But when I learned about hoodoo, I was like, oh, because that was like this combination of born out of the whole African slave trade when they came over, combining with Christianity and their Bible, and then still using roots of the earth, because why? They were unable to go to the white doctors and stuff like that and to get healed. They needed to regain their power, and hoodoo was a way for them to do that. There was history that showed that people that were able to conjure and do all these different things, like the white people didn't mess with them because they were like, like they didn't have to have no papers and nothing like that when they were going. It was just like they didn't mess with them because they were embracing their whole power. I was so afraid of that initially because of the stigma that came with it, the witchcraft and all that. But it was like, that's not what it's about. They're still having the Bible. They're still, talk about rituals and things that they do. Then you look at the Bible and it's like, okay, City of Jericho, when you march around that 7 times, then blow your horn and what do you think all that is?
Right.
Rituals, guidance or messages of what you're doing. So it's like the same thing. It's just what connotation or limits or control that you're wanting to put on, people for that. But I knew I had to be here in Arkansas because it was so prevalent. Matter of fact, that was like the back of this particular card. It was like all these places I had lived. And I was like, oh, I was where my people are. From Alabama to Texas to Arkansas. I mean, Caroline died. That's why I was like, she was a cartomancy, and she was like right down the street in Hope, Arkansas. She was here in Newport, Arkansas. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to go check out that space and, feel the energy vibe and all of that. But that's where I became free.
Yeah.
Open to even talking about that, exploring that, free to come out of those stigmas of being afraid of being called a witch and all those different things. And it's just like, no, I have God in me. And once I say you have God in you, you are powerful.
Yeah.
So as it is above, so be below. So it's but yeah, we could.
What you speak is so profound, and I love how this is such a, like, you are falling and you are falling in and coming into just more light, more light, more light, more light, more light, more light. And that is, there was so I've heard of this story twice. The Indians native to this land would bury when someone got sick. So they didn't have the doctors and stuff. Mm-hmm. They would bury the people in the ground. Still, I think I don't know how the whole death, but sometimes even as much as just the feet would get buried mm-hmm. into the ground, into the earth, and they would come out. They would emerge healed mm-hmm. of whatever they were going through, and that's now called earthing or grounding. Right. Walking around there and all of those things. But we have all of these like things that we cannot taste, touch, smell, and those are the things that we should be grounding in first, and then going to the manifested state in order to, and along the way, it will start to make sense. Some people that might be listening to this, like, this makes no sense. My bias immediately popped out. What are they talking about? What is all of this? What am I, going into it? But if you, and again, this is why I think High on the Hog did it such a smart way, is when they talked about the roots and what you could feel. You could even feel it from watching it. That means you go there, you go deeper into that. And then what you see is the manifestation of that, the food, and how now that food ties into every single culture that we currently have in some way. Rice is one of the most, we talked about that last week. Rice and the rice kingdom is the most universal thing that connects all of us.
We're all connected. It's all connected.
Every single one of us.
Every single one of us. It's all connected.
And to add things that are divisive breaks or harms that connection. Even from the words that we use in the, is this divisive or is it bringing us closer? Because just like you said with walking around Jericho, words, and you brought up words as well. That's why the Tower of Babel didn't get built. You want to confuse the people, give them different languages. You want to unite people, bring them all to the table and let's eat.
Right. Mm-hmm. Girl, that's a whole nother story about that.
Okay, well then let's wrap this thing up, because I'm definitely, I think we're gonna do our own thing as well, you and I, because I think that there's a lot that you and I can equally share. And then also, you being a coach, I think this is, people need people like you. And so
this is your part. So, but here's the thing too, this goes to remind you, is that everything is in divine timing.
Yes.
Because you remember, we were introduced.
We were. Months ago.
And it was okay, it wasn't time for us to connect. We weren't time for that, because I think that's when I had maybe came out of the spiritual closet a little bit. Yeah. It wasn't time yet. Like, wouldn't been able to ready to speak freely about all of this. It just was like, no, but now you're ready. I'm ready. So divine timing of when we were supposed to connect, even for this conversation. For whatever reason.
Yes.
Like, we were 15 minutes behind. It might be for either Larry or it says LinkedIn user.
Yep.
Or to come on when you need to come on, or whomever else.
Right.
So it's like the whole, if you just let things flow and just realize everything's in divine timing and just be open to what is it that message is saying for that moment, it'd be amazing of the things that we get to.
That's where magic is. That's what you just said scares most people. Mm-hmm. Because there's no control in that. Mm-mm. But there never is.
Never.
Ever.
Mm-mm.
Oh man.
Other than the thought of, you know what, this is free flowing and I'm going to allow this moment to go. Because you was probably stressed out, like, okay, I'm behind this. I'm over here like, okay, I'm just going to work. When she comes on, she'll come on. Like, there would have been a time to be like, Dad, what's going on? And like, it was like, whenever it's supposed to happen, it's supposed to happen.
And in moments of calm, I know that. I always, and when people are like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," I'm like, yeah, Alice in Wonderland. You're never late. You're always right on time. Which I think that movie needs to be broken down a bit because there's some stuff in there. I need to go watch this in my new mind because I feel like there's some hidden things in there.
Look, maybe that's our show. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
We're gonna break down.
Yes.
Like, what did you think? What did I think? What did you see? Like, did you see
see
that? And yeah, because that's how we connected for this, which is like the whole high on the hog, right?
Yeah.
Like, maybe that'd be our thing, breaking down. That's actually
yeah. Let's break things down.
Breaking things down.
So, first of all, y'all, watch High on the Hog. I don't know how much longer it's going to be on Netflix. We've done 4 episodes in the High Vibe Zone about it, different topics about each episode. This is the final one. So y'all go watch that show and let us know what you think. That's number 1. Number 2, Felicia, how can people get in touch with you? Like, they're like, this is amazing. I'm also dabbing with my spirituality. I am a coach, but need a coach. I don't have a coach and I need a coach. I just want to get to know this person in light and love. Like, how can people reach out to you?
Yes. So as I say, hashtag coaches have coaches for sure. So reach out to me on my website, sevenfoldcoaching.com. You'll have information there where you can connect with me. And then also, especially if you're right here on LinkedIn, connect with me. Send me a message. Let me know that you were on the, High Vibe Zone. And that way I kind of know, because, like sometimes you get some messages and you're like, okay, kind of thing. So yeah, connect there and then let's have a chat. Like, so I do have free connection calls if you're interested in receiving your own coaching. We can talk about that and see if you'll be a great client that I can come alongside you and support you on your journey. And then it looks like eventually at some point we'll come back here and watch us on future show.
Yeah.
That's going to be. I don't know what we'll call it. I guess stay tuned.
Yeah, we're going to figure it out, but you're going to see us back in here, especially on that LinkedIn Live. And we're also streaming on YouTube. So YouTube, shout out to y'all as well, because this is definitely going to, this conversation.
You learned something today. YouTube University, as we like to call it.
Oh, okay.
All right. Learn something new. YouTube University.
YouTube University. Yes. Nice. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
All right.
My cheeks are hurting.
Yes. Yes. Me too. I love it. This is the best kind of days is when your cheeks hurt from smiling too much. All right, y'all. Light, love, and gratitude. Thank you so much for watching, whether it's live or the recording. You've been with us in the High Vibe Zone. And so the intro is also going to be the outro because simplicity is beautiful. And so we are going to just end it with that. Thank y'all for joining us, and we will see you next week, same time in the High Vibe Zone. Thanks so much, Felicia, for being here.
You're welcome. See y'all.
All right. Bye, y'all.
You are a spiritual being in physical form, a dichotomy of light and dark, where energy equals mass on a journey designed to fulfill our personal legend and purpose, to use humanity throughout to amplify and transcend. Slay the ego, raise the humanity. That's a signpost up ahead. Your next stop, the High Vibe Zone.